I've seen so many careless shots played by batsmen, and I tell myself, that shot, if you play that shot at Lords, you play that shot at Melbourne, you're gonna get out. Batsmen, I think, have lost the ability to really think and play the game when there is time to really grind. The New York venue is a grinding venue.
This podcast comes to you with the kind compliments of G-Town Universal and the Lawrence Rowe Legendary Cricket Foundation.
But now, we've got these overgrown lads who can't handle a bit of rough grass or extra bounce. They're on Twitter, moaning about the pitch in New York like it's the end of the world.
Gentlemen, Bryan, you'll start this time. Just introduce yourself to our audience.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bryan Caine. I'm an American professional cricket umpire, and I'm one of the media scorers for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup at the Nassau County International Cricket Stadium.
All right, thank you, Bryan. Lenny.
Yeah, my name is Leonard Achaibar. Glad to be on the program. I'm also part of the scoring team at the Nassau County International Cricket Stadium during these World Cup games. So delighted to be on.
For the first time, they are seeing some pitches that is more bowler friendly.
Correct.
And
Correct.
myself, I would like to have seen it more batting friendly, as opposed
Yeah.
to just and be more in a test match kind of mood when you bat. You have to just adjust to what is happening and know that if you get to 150, more than likely the winning total. All
Correct.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So to you, Lenny, and to Yaga's question, looking at the games right there on the ground up front, what was your feeling? And as being someone who's been, both you guys have been involved with the local cricket scene. You've watched local games. You've watched some USA games of, as they've played others. What's your take so far?
So I have supported. I love what's happening in New York. I love the stadium, and I'm the least one really to criticize the pitch. I mean, the guys. If Bryan has been in our scoring booth a lot of time, and if there's one guy who picks up for the pitch, that's me. I've seen so many careless shots played by batsmen, and I tell myself, that shot, if you play that shot at Lords, you play that shot at Melbourne, you're gonna get out. Batsmen, I think, have lost the ability to really think and play the game when there is time to really grind. The New York venue is a grinding venue. You've got to adapt. When I followed cricket when Yaga was playing, you go to different parts of the world, you play differently. I remember you go to India, you've got to adapt to the conditions of India. You go to Australia, you pick teams, you adapt to the conditions how the Australians wicket will play. We cricketers have lost the art of adaptation because they've just come back from the IPL, which the wicket is so true and so much bunks that Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli could hook you off the front foot. They'll play on the front foot and play all the shots on the front foot. You come to New York, which is a different scenario, different pitch, and you've got to give the credit to the people who put the stadium together. It was well put together, like you guys are seeing on television, spanking new. It has all the amenities to challenge and perhaps to get in line with some of the best stadiums in the world. I mean, personally, I look at it, and when I come home, I look at the replays, and they look just as good or even better as some of the Caribbean countries, right? Except for Barbados, we look stand out. New York really looks stand out. But let's get back to the pitch. And I've seen, look, the match yesterday with Pakistan. Rizwan played a poor shot. Whether this was Lords or Melbourne or any place in the world, Bumrah would have bowled you. that's where you lost the game. Even today's game, guys getting caught by just not applying themselves, not realizing that this pitch is a 120 pitch and it's a runner ball game. The ground is big. Tap the ball in open spaces and run. The other thing what I've noticed with this ground that the batsmen have not really adapted to, this is a big ground. You go to India in the IPL and they'll tell you sometime the straight down the ground is probably long or it's probably short and the square are usually short. Well, this ground at this New York ground is full size. You've got to bat well. You've got to be able, and when a ground is big and it's full size, it does one thing. It takes six hitting a bit out of the equation, right? And for batters who love scoring quickly and hit the ball out of the park, New York is going to be a challenge for you. And you got to learn that very quickly. The other thing, the other bad thing I got to say is that the ground is a little bit not too quick. It's a bit slow. So that also has taken the hitting the force a bit out of the equation. So this comes down to running between the wickets. And Bryan will know we scored so much 3 runs on this ground in the last couple of days. So the game comes down to rotating the strike, pick the open gaps, run 3, and the odd 4s and the odd 6 will come along. Unfortunately, it's ironic that these players at the international level who's played so much T20 cricket has failed to come with a plan how to make runs in New York. Now, listen, like I said, conditions are different. You go to Florida this week, it might be a little bit different. That's good. You come to New York, and this is the arena. The battle lines are drawn here. This is the 22 yards we'll play on. You've got to adapt. You're an international player, and that is why Bryan and I were talking a little bit earlier on. It gives me the sense that the associate countries could do well because they're suited to bat on these quote-unquote tricky pitches. And here is where the international stars may struggle, and we've seen that. But I would never label this pitch a bad pitch. I would say it's a tricky pitch. It's a trying pitch. You've got to bat well. This is where your skill and your mental capacity really comes out.
I'll quote.
I am in full agreement with you there, Lenny. And I just before you go, Bryan, I want to ask: have the recent players been pampered? Because I'm listening to the complaints and I'm like, I mean, I never heard this before. And like you say, from Yaga's time, I never heard so many complaints, right? Have they become pampered, Lenny?
I would think so. Listen, we're accustomed to feeding on a diet that a good T20 match is 180 and 200, right? We've been spoiled with that. We just came off the IPL. We saw quite a few 200s made, and we saw some hectic chases that got over the line over 200, right? Yaga mentioned a quote that we always refer to a batting paradise. What has become of the bowlers? What has become of the bowlers? Look, we saw Saqib, one of the pacers from Bangladesh, bowl a really good spell this morning. Got the ball to move. He played well, right? He got picked up 3 wickets, right? It was so much in for the fast bowlers. When last have we seen that? And the game went to an exciting finish. In fact, yesterday's game was low scoring, but very good finish. So we've got to put something into the game for the bowlers. And let me not talk about the playing conditions. We have really been skewed against the bowlers. The 2 bouncers rule, fielding restrictions. You can't go down the leg side. Who is this benefiting? The bowlers have nothing to fall back on. So you give me a pitch in New York in which the bowlers are coming to the party, winning you games, and now the complaint starts to come in that that's a bad pitch. It is not. It's a tricky pitch. You've got to work hard for your runs.
Yeah, I really like that. You go ahead, Bryan.
I think people just didn't know what to expect, and I think there was no way to know what to expect in New York. We know where the pitch came from. There was extensive coverage about it coming from Adelaide to then being grown in Florida to then being moved on trucks to New York, and all this speculation about what it might be. And what I thought has been pretty interesting is that people a lot of chatter before the tournament about teams bringing 3 and 4 spinners because everything's going to be slow and low. We're talking about old dusty West Indian pitches and these sorts of things. And then, we've come here to New York and the South Africans are playing 4 fast bowlers.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there's that 2-pace nature of the pitch, bit up and down. And I mean, the ICC has officially acknowledged that the first couple of official games played at the stadium, they were not happy with the quality of the pitch. And I think that's why we've ended up playing on the same pitch the last 3 days in a row. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 2 days. Lenny and I are not privileged to that sort of information. But we've seen the same pitch used over the last 3 days, and we can see that it might be getting tired because we've seen over the last 3 days the same pattern in the game where the opening batting side will come in and get off to a flyer, and then the pitch and the game just seems to go down, and the run rate just seems to go down from there. That by the time you get to the second innings and the second half of the second innings, the chase has become very difficult, where Bangladesh and Pakistan both should have walked those chases. After 12 overs, they both should have walked those chases. But I don't know if it's in the pitch. I don't know if it's in the determination of the players. I don't know if it's something in the tactics that the teams have learned to hold their fast bowlers back. But then that's not even the case because Maharaj bowled the last over today for South Africa just as they got over the line. And I mean, they won that game by 2 yards. If the ball had been hit for 6, 2 yards a little bit further rather than caught on the boundary in the last over, that game is over. So yeah, I think the trick is pitchy. I think the pitch is tricky. And I think that the ICC acknowledged on the first couple of days that it was poor. And now the curator from Adelaide has been there trying to fix it up as best as possible. You're 100% right, Lenny, that the outfield is slow. We can see the sand popping up every time the ball or a player hits the outfield. And I'll quote the CricViz analyst for the TV coverage, Ben Jones, who's calling New York the land of the 3, because where else do you see threes run so much in T20 cricket?
Yep.
Back in the day, cricketers were tough as nails. They'd walk onto any pitch, survey the pitch, and ready themselves for whatever may come. But now, we've got these overgrown lads who can't handle a bit of rough grass or extra bounce. They're on Twitter, moaning about the pitch in New York like it's the end of the world. Oh, boo-hoo, the ball's not bouncing right? Cry me a river, build a bridge, and get over it. Remember this, fellas. Greatness comes from overcoming adversity, not from having everything perfectly tailored to your liking. The true legends of cricket didn't just survive, they thrived. They adapted, respected the conditions, and showed us why they were the best. Maybe these modern cricketers need a history lesson. They should watch some old footage of the real legends. To our modern-day crybabies, toughen up, lads. Embrace the challenge, stop whining, and show us some cricket worth watching. Otherwise, we might think you're better suited for a drama class than a cricket field.